Welcome to Smart Cherry's Thoughts. This is Sai from India. Hi,
Hi.
thank you very much for coming to my show.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on.
So, I've gone through your profile. I can see you're doing a lot of work. So, I thought to tell about you and your work to my audience.
Yeah, that'll be great.
So, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Hiroko Nishimura, and I'm the technical writer for the book AWS for Non-Engineers, and I teach Introduction to AWS for Non-Engineers courses on LinkedIn Learning. And I'm an AWS community hero and also created AWS Newbies.
So, you're from?
I'm originally from Kyoto, Japan, but I live in near the DC suburbs in the US.
So, what made you to become an author and what made you to write uh, a book for non-engineers?
Um, yeah, I wrote this book mostly because the publisher reached out to me asking if I'd be interested in writing this book. But the whole thing of teaching cloud computing to non-engineers and people from non-technical backgrounds started because I needed to learn about AWS, and my background is in special education. So I don't have a technical background, and I ended up working in IT for a couple years after I graduated college. So I had to teach myself, everything I was doing in my job working in IT. And one of the things that I needed to teach myself was what the heck Amazon Web Services was. And at the time, it was, I think, like 2018, there wasn't very many resources available that was teaching cloud computing or AWS to people who weren't already like doing IT for 10 years or had a programming background or like a engineering background. And so I created this blog called awsnewbies.com to study for my AWS Cloud Practitioner certification exam. And I created it, I studied from it, I passed, and I was like, okay, I'll just keep it up for like a year because it's on free tier. And once it costs money, I'll take it down and maybe, one or two other people will find it useful. And within like 2, 3 months, I was getting 10,000 hits from Google. And that was kind of when I was like, oh, wait, there might be something to this whole like teaching AWS jargon free and like deconstructing all these concepts in ways that, anyone really can understand. And, that's around when LinkedIn Learning reached out asking if I'd be interested in creating courses with them. So I created Introduction to AWS for Non-Engineers. Um, they were published in 2019. And then in 2022, 2021 or 2022, I got um, an email from Manning, which is the publisher for my book, asking if I'd be interested in creating and publishing a book with the same kind of concept of teaching AWS to people from non-traditional technical backgrounds. So that's kind of been my past couple years, and now we have a book.
So, when you published, I mean, you published it 2 years back. So, how many books you published for AWS non-engineers?
So this book published last December, so like 4 or 5 months ago. So far I think it's sold somewhere between 1,000 to 2,000 copies. I'm not really sure. We get like the publishers, like, they add it up and send it to you like every quarter. So I just got my paperwork from last quarter, which ended in December, but it published in December. So, at that point it was like 1,000 copies.
So, how many services you explained in AWS?
I don't remember. I think it's probably like 20 to 30. It's it's all of the core services, technology, security, all the core services that you are expected to know to pass the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam.
So you came from non-technical background. Is that the reason why you wanted to put the same name?
I wasn't particular about the name. LinkedIn Learning wanted the non-engineers in the title. And then I think the publisher was like, oh, this is a good way to like tell people that you can learn this stuff from zero using this book. So they just kind of kept it. But I do kind of like it that it's very easy to realize it's like, hey, you don't have to be an engineer to read this book and understand. And I was kind of afraid that engineers wouldn't read it and want to read it because it says for non-engineers. But so far, it seems to not really deter them from picking it up. I've had a lot of engineers and DevOps people like talk to me and say, oh, hey, I loved your book, or I took your courses. And they're like, I love that it says non-engineers, So I knew like I didn't need to have any background in cloud computing to figure this out, even though, they might have engineering background or they might have CS background, but they don't have cloud background, and they still need to learn the jargon from zero. So I think overall it didn't have as negative an impact as I was afraid it would have to say non-engineers in the title.
And a DevOps and a cloud engineer is interviewing you, and who has a master's degree in software engineering, also bachelor's degree in computer science and engineering.
Yeah, they can all read it. It's just, you just kind of know. It's like for those for dummies books. They're like, oh yeah, this is great. You can understand it. You don't need any background information. So
I
yeah.
mean, I said about myself, that is me.
Oh yeah. For yourself, yeah.
I did masters in software engineering, also
Uh-huh.
bachelor's in computer science and engineering.
Uh-huh.
Right now, I'm doing DevOps engineering. I'm doing my own
Okay.
projects. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Would you pick it up, or would you be like, oh, this isn't for me?
No, I selected this because I'm interested in computer networks and everything by doing my master's project and
Mm-hmm.
bachelor's project. But
Mm-hmm.
when I saw your content and when I saw the work that you are doing, coming from non-technical background, reaching everywhere, helping a lot of non-technical engineers, and a lot of my followers are purely technology and
Mm-hmm.
very high level technology experts from all around the world. They will see this video definitely. It will reach
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah.
So,
That's great.
so tell me more about your work. You are an author and you are an instructor, and I can see you are founder of two other companies as well.
Yes. So most of what I do these days is run after a toddler, but my work is mostly in, I guess, deconstructing technical concepts to people with non-traditional technical backgrounds or people who are like complete beginners. So that could be like in JavaScript, CSS. I have a course that I teach like introductory CSS with. Or if a startup has a technology that they want explained to the public, they would hire me to kind of write knowledge bases or create it's like a content strategy where they would want me to be like, hey, where do we even start with explaining what this is, and how do we get someone from not knowing what the heck this service even is to being like, oh, maybe we're interested in, buying or purchasing the subscription because it might solve a pain point. So that's kind of where my niche is. My niche is in being like a perpetual, like professional beginner, because I'm a beginner in everything that my clients want me to figure out. Like that provides like a valuable insight, because all these people, they like live and breathe these technologies because they probably made it, so it's very hard for them to get that beginner's mind. So they kind of hire me to come in and be like, okay, I don't get this. I don't get that. What does this mean? What does this word mean? And I kind of help startups and other companies, kind of get people started from 0 to 1.
And what is your way of explaining AWS services?
My way is to try to have as little jargon as possible. And jargon's necessary, the technical words and the concepts are necessary because, that's kind of the language that DevOps people use and your software engineers are going to use. So you need to learn them, but it's like pretty difficult to explain them sometimes because you just kind of take for granted that people know what it means. And one of the examples that I gave in the beginning was like the word scalable. And back in the days, everyone loved the word scalable. They're like, oh, this is scalable. Oh, this isn't scalable, whatever. And then I was like, okay, but can you explain what scalable is to someone who doesn't have this concept of like a scalable application? And it's like, it's a lot harder than you would expect. Like if you knew what it meant and what the concept is, it's like, oh, scalable, it's like up and down, up and down. But if you try to say that to someone who doesn't have an IT background, they'll be like, what do you mean up and down, up and down? So that's the kind of stuff that I try to explain using like the real world metaphors or being like, oh, hey, Wi-Fi is like this, or, it's like a refrigerator, stuff like that to try to kind of break these concepts down. And people who are like extremely technical, sometimes they're like, you're simplifying it too much. But to me, I'm just like, well, people need to have it simplified in order to kind of have that aha moment. And once they have that aha moment where it clicks, then they can go and move on to the more like technically correct representation of what they're trying to learn. But until they get that aha moment with like the simplified metaphor or something, it's like extremely difficult to understand like knowledge bases and documentation. So I've just kind of exist in that 0 to 1 phase where I'll get someone from 0 to 1, and then people who are more technical can then get those people from 1 to like 100.
So what technical experts told you about your explanation about AWS services through your books?
Because I used to be in the startup space where I worked at a startup and stuff in New York City, a lot of my peers also worked at startups or were working in tech. And when we would be talking about how to explain certain things to people, there would just be like a little bit of clashes if they are highly technical people going like, oh, no, you can't talk about networking as like a pizza delivery service. You're missing this and this and this and this. And I'm like, I don't care. If the pizza delivery thing of like, preparing and then delivering, and then I was talking, like packets going from place to place, and then, and you put the little packets together and then you deliver it and then it comes to you as a pizza. And then they're like, oh no, you're missing this and this and this. And I'm like, no, I don't care if it's missing this and this and this and this, because someone's going to have that aha moment, and then they can start putting these technical things together, and you just add on to the knowledge. But if you don't have like the base for the knowledge first, you can't build anything on top of it. But I think a lot of people who've been doing this for 10, 20 years or are really, really good at what they do, they kind of tend to forget that, you need to learn the alphabet before you can learn words and then write a novel. So there's sometimes conflicts with that, which is probably why I like working alone a lot of times, because no one really, can say, hey, this is unnecessary if I'm writing and publishing it myself. So
it's not very easy for anybody to simplify very too technical things or too complicated things. But how that skill you developed, or is that naturally built, or your imagination towards technologies? Uh, there is already a non-technical engineer in you is making you present in this way and making so many people to become engineers.
I think I was primed for this because my background is in special education. So I have a bachelor's and master's in teaching kids with disabilities. And so the whole premise of special education is that you want to provide the same education to children with very differing needs, but the way you deliver it might be different. So you accommodate and modify the curriculum and the content so that like what they are learning is the same, but it might not necessarily be the same way that, everyone else in the general school system is learning. So that kind of equates exactly to what I'm trying to do in tech is like, okay, the information that I'm trying to convey is the same, but the way that I deliver it is very different because the audience is very different and what they know is very different and how they learn is very different. So, I think just the fact that I have this background in special ed and I also taught myself IT and I learn very differently from other people, I think has just really helped in kind of developing this different way of teaching and writing, which apparently a lot of people like because hundreds of thousands of people have taken my courses. So
So how you want people to understand AWS services? What is it? What are AWS services?
AWS services, I just think it's just like a huge basket of cool tricks and you can probably build anything you want. It's kind of like Legos, but it's like Legos with flavor. So it's more like the Legos they sell these days, not Legos that they used to sell when we were kids. And I think the cool part is that you can use them to, out of the box. Now they have like Star Wars Legos where you build these things that exist in Star Wars, but you can still use those same pieces and mash it up with like another kit and like create something completely new. And I think that's like the cool thing about AWS is you can, make these cookie cutter things like solutions that are already predefined, or you can get like really creative. And that's when like people are making really interesting things like making videos that I don't have to create videos anymore. It'll just like machine learn my facial expressions and my voice. And if I just type in a script, it'll like create videos for me that look like I'm creating the videos. And I think those things are like really cool that, stuff like AWS and GCP and all the cloud computing services are making accessible to people for like, a few bucks. You can now suddenly like create these like extremely complicated puzzles that no one's thought of before.
So how do you define AWS services to anyone who is coming from non-technical background?
For non-technical background, I just say it's like, hey, it's like Google Drive and Facebook and Twitter and all those things. And what's probably powering it from the background is AWS. And I think a lot of people, when you talk about like Google Drive, it's a lot easier for them to like conceptualize what cloud computing is. Um, and it's one of those things that's like you're really, really, really making it simple by saying like it's like Skype and Dropbox and Google Drive and stuff like that. It's like services you use, except it's just branded differently. And so that's kind of how I go into like explaining what AWS and cloud computing is.
And how these services are helping humans to solve their problems?
I think it's helping a lot of people solve problems and creating more problems. But I mean, I think the fact that, this whole pandemic happened and yet we figured out a way to stay connected throughout all that and working was pretty cool, though probably pretty toxic too. But, um, you know, I haven't seen my friends in like 3, 4 years, but somehow we're still able to connect. And then technology keeps on chugging along and comes with like more and more ways that you can interact with your friends. And like, my husband's friends are playing like Settlers of Catan or whatever online now. And it's like, it's great. And at the same time, it's kind of like jarring that, now you have to like seek out real human interaction. But at the same time, like we're sitting here having this interview and I'm in Maryland and in the United States and we're talking as though we're like next to each other. So I think that's like just those kinds of things I think are really cool.
So you have explained 30 services in your books.
Hmm. Hmm.
So what is your way of explaining? I mean, what kind of examples you will give and how you will relate the technical topics with non-technical people?
So the examples I give, there's like, what is that even called? There's like this new service. Maybe it's not new, but my gosh, I'm like blanking out on the service name. But it's just Global Accelerator. So there's like the AWS Global Accelerator. And that I think recently got added to the cloud practitioner exam. And I was like, what the heck is this global accelerator? And I'm researching it. I'm reading about it. I'm watching videos. And I'm like, I still have no idea what this means. And then after a while, I was like, oh, this is like in the US, it's like the HOV lane or the toll road. So what it does is like, they try to get your data, whatever data you're trying to download or upload onto like AWS's network, global network, which is like way faster than your local network because it's like, you can think of it like the pipe is thicker. Like there's just the data transfer is so much faster. So they're like, oh, it's like the toll road. You're trying to get like the data off your local roads and onto the toll road. And you're like suddenly like speeding past at 90 miles per hour instead of like hopping from one service to another Verizon to like we have like Verizon, T-Mobile, like all these like local networks. And if you go through the local roads to somewhere, it takes you a really long time. But if you hop on the highway and then you even hop on the toll road, which no one wants to spend money, so they don't want to be on, then like you can get somewhere like in half the time. So I was like, okay, this is it. And so that's like the way I was trying to explain the global accelerator. But just the fact that like until I could come up with that kind of analogy for myself, I like could not figure out what it was. This kind of shows how like once one thing clicks, then you are like, oh wait, this is just like that. And then you can kind of start getting into the more technical aspect of what a global accelerator can do. That was one of the aha moments because I had never heard of this service before and I had to like figure it out. And it took me like a day or two before I'm like, what? What does this even mean? But yeah, it's a toll road. They created a toll road on the internet.
So how many people got connected with this communication style?
With like the way I
This
create my
kind,
courses and stuff.
this kind of examples that you give to explain any service.
Well, I don't know how many people I've connected with, but I do know my courses have been viewed by I think 400,000 learners in the past 2 or 3 years. And when I get like messages talking about my courses, it's usually from people who are not engineers. And they're like, one of the things I've been hearing is like, oh, you've taught me, like I've taught them that if they don't understand something technical, it's not that it's like too technical or too complicated for them. It's just that they haven't found the right medium to learn from. And they can keep on like trying to find that one person who can explain it the way they can understand. And I think just that is like really powerful. And if I can help someone feel that way, I'm like, I feel like I've done my job. If someone can feel like, oh, wait, it's not that it's too complicated. It's just that, the way this is taught wasn't for me. And I just have to find a way that's for me that someone's written. And if you can't find it, maybe you can just be like me and just explain it to yourself and somehow, end up teaching 500,000 people a couple of years later.
So you also help people in getting AWS certifications as well. Have you done any certifications, AWS certifications or cloud computing certifications?
Yeah. So the only certification I ever got was the for cloud computing is the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam. I was intending on getting like the solutions architect and stuff, but then I got stuck here explaining introductory AWS concepts for the past 4 or 5 years. And so I don't think I'm moving on anytime soon. But yeah, most of my content and courses circle around that certification exam. It's like the foundational AWS cert.
So, what is the level of knowledge you have when it comes to cloud computing?
Oh, my level of knowledge is like non-existent. It's like very, very, very basic. So I know as much as the person who reads the book will know after they read the book.
So, what they can become after reading your books in AWS cloud?
So I don't think you can become like a solutions architect after you read my book or my courses, but it's like opens the door for you to start understanding the jargon and the way that other more technical instructors will be able to explain it. And so it's kind of more like learning the vocabulary. And so I don't teach you how to use it. I don't teach you how to like create any programs or software on it, but I teach you like what these concepts are and like the cloud concepts of like the well-architected framework and stuff like that. And then you would take the knowledge. So I'm like feeding you knowledge and vocabulary so that you can then go and build on it with other people's content. So I don't know if there's anything specific that you can be other than maybe like a sales associate for like a SaaS company, which is what a lot of people are when they feel like they want to take my courses to get the certification exam. But it's kind of like opening the door for you to then go and take other people's courses and read their resources to become like solutions architects or DevOps engineer or like a cloud engineer.
So, you won't go into coding or software development.
I used to make like anime websites when I was in school, but that's about it.
But you don't explain
No,
any
I don't explain it. Yeah, no.
programming languages
Mm-mm.
or pure development related things.
No, I don't explain that. I just explain the jargon.
Okay, you explain how the cloud computing works and how different cloud companies are working
Yeah,
and
or
what
like,
are
what the services do on a very, very high level, not like a nitty gritty level, but like I was saying, like global accelerator is a toll road. That's the kind of level that we're talking about.
but eventually it is connected with programming and software development.
Eventually people will probably have to get to that point, but I wouldn't explain it because I'm not a developer.
And how you can explain without knowing it.
I don't explain that part.
I mean, you don't explain, but it is connected with that.
Not at the level that we are writing about because I'm not helping people create applications. So it's more like, what is an S3? It's a storage service. It's like, what is a storage service? And so
Definitions.
more definitions than like how it works in like the, how you can like, put that together with an EC2 to create a program. Like not like that. It's more like, what is an EC2? What is an S3? Stuff like that.
Okay, so how many services you can explain like that?
I don't really think I can explain too many right now because I have one of the reasons why I am actually pretty good at this is because I have brain injury. So I have to explain things in ways where I next week will be able to read it and understand. So I actually don't keep very much in my brain. It's like if I put it up in my book or put it out in my course, it's there. And when I need to like explain it again, I like read my own content
Okay.
to explain it. So like off the bat, I don't think I can really explain most of them at all.
Okay. And I can, and you are a AWS community hero.
Yeah.
So what you do in it?
So I haven't really been able to go to too many events and stuff because of COVID. So I don't really do very much except I talk about AWS and talk about like the introductory concepts and stuff periodically. And I connect people with other people when they're looking for resources or they're looking for information. But theoretically, if it weren't like in a COVID world, I would be attending all the AWS events and then networking with people, talking to people, stuff like that. And I guess I might even go to like schools or something and help like students start learning about AWS. Um, but in general, I'm like more of a keyboard warrior talking to people online about AWS.
And what is the response you got for the content that you created for LinkedIn?
Sorry, what? One more time?
What is the response that you got for the content that you created for LinkedIn?
Responses from my learners.
The content that you created for LinkedIn,
Like what people have said about it.
the LinkedIn website
Yeah,
from
what about
which
it?
you got the invitation. What kind of
Uh-huh.
response they gave you after you giving content to them?
They've just basically been like, oh, this is great. Let's keep on updating it whenever we need updates so that it can keep on going. And they're looking for more certification related content because I guess everyone wants certifications now. So I think we're just going to keep on updating it, and keeping up with the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam so that people can use it as an exam prep.
So, how many categories are there in AWS, and how it is categorized, and how any a beginner can able to get into AWS?
So I don't know how many categories there are because they're adding to it like every 3 months. But there's like the core technologies, which you can learn about in like the core technologies domain in the cloud practitioner exam. And those like the core ones are what's mostly used, what most people are using at any one time. And it usually doesn't really change. They don't add or subtract from that. And that's like, I think the best place for people to start using AWS because it's just like so widely used. And because they're so widely used, there's a lot of resources teaching you how to use them, like the S3 and the EC2 and, all these things that I think a lot of the internet actually runs on. And so I think if you are just really, really beginning from zero for AWS, I would just pick up the AWS Cloud Practitioner Certification Exam. There's like a PDF. There's like an official PDF for the content of the course, content of the exam. And that kind of lists out these core services that you need to know about. And that's like a really good place to just start kind of Googling and figuring out what these things do.
And by learning from your courses, what kind of jobs they can get?
I don't know if you can get a certain job from it. People seem to use it more as like an addition to the job that they have that they are trying to kind of upgrade their skills on. So one of the, I think, most popular ones are they are like the non-technical member of a sales engineering team. And they need to kind of be able to communicate with their solutions architects and their customers. So, but they personally weren't engineers. So they kind of need to be able to speak the same jargon and language, but they don't necessarily need to know how to architect a specific like solution. And so I think they're called sales engineers. And some other people who take my courses are like people who are in the legal department. They need to understand how these data are protected on the cloud and whether or not it's feasible for their company to be using this, depending on, if you're like a medical establishment, then in the US, like HIPAA laws might require you to store your data a certain way. And they're like, well, does AWS do this? Or if you're in the accounting or finance department, since cloud computing has like a very different way of billing you than like traditional IT infrastructure does. Like you don't just buy a server and then you're done. You pay like a monthly usage fee kind of thing. My courses help people in finance and accounting kind of figure out why it's different and how they're going to maybe have to like adjust the way that they do their accounting for their company if they're going to implement AWS. So it's kind of like more of like the fringe jobs, especially in like the tech sector where they're going to be, the company decides to utilize AWS and they're like, okay, now everyone that touches it has to kind of know something about it so that their work isn't compromised.
So you're saying they can become solutions architect by learning from your courses.
No, they can't become a solutions architect, but it'll be like the first step to becoming a solutions architect if they wanted to. They would then have to like move on to the content that will help them pass the solutions architect associate exam. But it'll give them like a good foundation on like the vocabulary and the concepts that they would then need to apply. Because the solutions architect associate exam, I think the content is not very different, but they would go a little more like nitty gritty into every service and concept. So this is like the foundation, and then you have to like add on to it.
So all AWS certifications that are there, uh, uh, can a non-technical background person or non-technical background professional can able to get this certification without knowing coding or development or knowing any Java, .NET, any kind of a uh, development things?
At
Can they
least
able to
the
get?
at least the certified cloud practitioner exam they can get without having to know any programming languages.
Okay. So how your brain injury and ADHD helped you to find a dream career in tech?
Yeah, so as I was explaining earlier, like I don't keep very much in my brain because I can't really trust it, which helped me kind of develop ways to create really good documentation because I don't trust my brain to know how to do something I figured out today, like next week. So in learning how to like work in IT, I was like creating all these documentations. And once I stopped working in corporate IT and started doing like technical writing and writing tutorials and creating courses, I realized it's actually like a pretty good skill to have when you're trying to teach IT and tech to people. And so I was doing it to compensate for my brain, but it ended up like actually helping me and helping all my students. So that was kind of like a aha moment there that usually when someone talks about having a certain disability, it's usually like negative, but in my case, it came out to be like a really positive thing.
So how you teach, how you instruct, or how you connect with engineers, I mean non technical engineers that you are going to create with your works. Uh, I mean, is it through writing?
Yeah, most of it is through writing. I try to like do YouTube, but I'm not very consistent. But generally, LinkedIn and Twitter are easier for me to maintain. So people reach out to me there, and I put up blog posts periodically or update my courses and stuff like that. So most of my communication with people is through writing.
How you develop this skill, writing skill? Writing is not that easy. Becoming an author is not easy because you don't be physically present in order to show the gestures,
Mm-hmm.
in order to make them understand about the concepts or any services or anything. But through the book, without being in person with that person who is reading the book, how you are able to convey what you are trying to tell in that is there in your brain that you have understood with your research?
Yeah, I think so. I've always loved reading and writing since I was young, and I'd always wanted to become a writer. But when I got my brain injury, I got like a language disorder where it's difficult for me to like convey what I'm thinking into words, which kind of like ruins this whole like writer thing. So I think it's just kind of been that I've been like, okay, well, I can't really write anymore. I can barely read. So I was, just spending the past like 10 years just kind of like not even thinking that writing as a profession is something I can do. But I think just the fact that I was starting to read so much and read other people's content and resources, and the fact that I had to write like my own, knowledge bases in order for me to remember, I think I just kind of like rehabilitated myself into this specific type of writing. So I don't know if I can do like other types of writing. Like I don't know if I can write fiction or poetry or stuff like that. But if you needed me to write technical documentation, like that's the kind of writing I've been like so focused on for like the past decade that I think that's like the one avenue of writing that I'm able to do now because I just like been practicing it so much.
Okay. And I can see you also have video courses.
Mhm.
Is that in your website or you wrote for other companies?
So my video courses are hosted by LinkedIn Learning and Egghead. So those are the companies that host them. Um, and I just get royalty checks from them when people watch them.
So, what are those courses?
So the one on LinkedIn Learning is the Introduction to AWS for Non-Engineers courses, which help you get from like zero to taking the AWS Certified Cloud Practitioner exam. And the ones on Egghead are like beginner coding, HTML, CSS type of courses. And they're like very short and very like, you know, hey, let's figure out Flexbox or something like that.
So, when you started writing and when you become a writer, because I can see you have published content in different platforms and reached so many people uh, writing in two different mediums. When you started and how much experience you have total as an author?
So I've been blogging since I was in middle school. So that's like, 20, 20 some years of like writing online. And I stopped like writing after my brain surgery, which I think I was 22. So for the most part, I stopped like producing any content or writing, from like when I was 22 to maybe like 27 or something like that. And then after that is when I started realizing that, like the to-do lists or the, how to do some things and tutorials that I've been writing for myself is actually kind of useful for other people too. And that's kind of when I started, publishing stuff again online. So it's only been like, 5, 6 years, I guess, that I've been, doing content creation again, consistently.
What kind of compliments you got from actual AWS experts?
Um, they just say what I'm doing is pretty cool, which I think is pretty cool because, I mostly don't know what I'm talking about, but, a lot of people are, like the professionals, right? Or other fellow AWS heroes, and they are like really, really, really good at what they do. So the fact that they even talk to me is pretty cool. Um, but I think a lot of them know that bringing beginners into the AWS ecosystem is like really important, but it's really difficult to do as someone who's so good at what they do. So, people like me are kind of important to help bridge the gap between like knowing nothing and starting to be able to comprehend what these like really knowledgeable people are talking about. And so, I've had a lot of people talk to me from like inside AWS and other people who are creating content around AWS that, the work I'm doing to try to kind of explain these concepts to people with non-technical backgrounds is like pretty important. So that's
So,
nice.
so being in special education helped you today to be an author and instructor?
I think so, yeah, because it forces me to kind of find different ways to explain things. When like, the one way just doesn't work for a lot of people just because they don't have the same technical backgrounds that other people might have. And it's kind of fun trying to figure out like really weird metaphors and stuff to explain a technical concept. Because when it works, it really works. When it doesn't work, it's just kind of like, okay, I've played myself. This is just silly. But when it works, it's like people are like really into it, and people like DM me about this thing I wrote, 7 years ago, going like, oh yeah, I love that way you explained this, and I still remember it. And I'm like, I barely remember writing that, but that's great, So it's been interesting. The things that people like latch onto and go like, aha, that's exactly what I needed at this moment, and they remember it, and I don't remember it, but so
And
special ed
how much
definitely helped me with that.
and how much do you rate yourself as a I mean, how much do you rate out of 1 to 10? How much do you rate yourself in communication skills?
Oh, I don't know. I don't consider myself very adept at communicating with people. So
You you
I
you
guess,
reached you reached thousands of people,
but I'm not like doing it in person, I think that's like the interesting thing, because I think if I had to do
but they
it
are connecting
like,
with your way of explaining things. That's why they
yeah.
are talking about
Oh, that's
it.
what we're
And
talking about. Okay, not like my social skills.
yeah,
I think for people that it resonates to, it's probably like an 8 or 9. And for people that it doesn't resonate to, they're like, this is trash. So it really depends on who is watching, but it seems like it does resonate with a lot of people who are just kind of looking for that kind of explanation. It really seems like it's like a hit or miss. Like, and when it misses, it like misses really bad. I get complaints sometimes that it's like trash, but then other people are like, oh my God, I love it. So I just keep on creating for the people who are like, oh, I love it. And I'm like, if you don't like it, then there's 10 million other people who can explain it in a different way. So I just keep on chugging along.
so I interviewed Amazon Web Services vice president.
I saw that.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, he will be watching this. So, what you'll tell about, because you have done a lot of research, you know how services work. What do you say about this global technology, this cloud technology overall? How this is helping humans to solve their problems and how it is impacting humans' lives?
Well, I think like what I was saying earlier, it's just allowing people to be connected with people they would not have been able to even just like 30 years ago. And just the fact that people can collaborate from around the world to create something that's like never existed, I think that is like pretty amazing. Even though there could be like, pitfalls to that, I think like the potential is like almost, it's like limitless. And I think that's like a really, really exciting thing, that you can collaborate with anyone around the world and with this technology and create things. So I think that's awesome.
And what is going to be future of cloud technology?
Well, apparently it's the kids these days are really into voice first technology, and they can get Alexa to do really, really, really convoluted things. I can only ask what the weather is and what my Amazon notification is, but apparently these kids can like get it to do almost anything. So I think voice technology and stuff like that is going to be what's coming up next, with like the new generation of technologists coming out of the womb right now.
Are we going to reach other planets in the universe with this technology?
I think Elon Musk thinks that we will. I don't
with
know
the
if we
with
will,
with
but
the cloud technology because they are
yeah,
putting data centers in different parts of the world in different countries and
yeah.
interconnecting them and transferring information between countries like this. how we are
Yeah.
able to communicate. In this way, can we
Yeah.
able to communicate with aliens or other species in other parts of the world using this cloud technology, putting data centers in Mars and Moon?
Does it matter that there are no clouds in the space? I definitely think it's already happening, right? They're already putting like rovers and stuff in places and they're getting data. They're shipping data back. So, I feel like it's coming. I don't know how long it'll take, but I think people from like 50 years ago thought we'd already be doing it, but we went like a different direction, I think. So now we have like teeny tiny phones on our wrists instead.
And what you're famous for? What
What
is
am
your
I famous
name
for?
in the internet? What people search for you, or what you are
Known for? I think I'm
recognized for?
I think I'm mostly recognized for my AWS newbie stuff where I'm introducing cloud concepts to people who don't have technical backgrounds. And I think it's also because I'm one of those people. And maybe my cats, because people like my cats.
But you're not originally from US. You have
No.
a different origin. But now you are teaching a lot of US people to understand AWS concepts. So how you developed that communication thing in order to uh, uh, you just didn't learn, you also teaching them.
Yeah. Well, I've been here since I was 7, so English is stronger for me, and I think I've always just had this since I've been like blogging and stuff since I was in middle school. I've always had this like need to like if I learn something or figure something out, I have to like teach it. And I think it also comes from the fact that like I guess a lot of people feel that way and then become teachers. So I was gonna become a teacher and then I didn't. And then now I'm like doing the same thing. I'm just teaching. I just have this like if I find like a good deal, I have to like tell everyone about it. So I think that's just like my nature and my nature is like helping me just kind of communicate with everyone. And one of these days I'd like to do the same thing in Japan too, but we'll see if it'll ever happen.
And have you went into Azure or GCP or Alibaba or other cloud?
I haven't looked into them though. I've been told that they're very similar, so I could probably go into it and create similar content. But I haven't looked into it yet.
So at last, what do you say to my audience about your work?
Um, I hope you like it, and not think it's trash, but I think as in general, the industry has started to realize like these introductory contents are pretty important. And if like reading any of my content or something could help people start like writing their own introductory content, I think it'll be pretty cool because I think introductory content there's like certain ways that you have to convey certain things and a lot of times when you're really good at what you do and you've done it for like 10 years, you don't really know what people don't know when they start out. And I think like looking out for like certain keywords or certain key concepts that you take for granted, but maybe someone who's new doesn't, even if having like that kind of thoughts, I think that would be like really helpful to help a lot of new people to come into the technology space.
And at last, what is your observation about my work? Have you seen videos of mine on YouTube?
I've only seen a couple, like the Jeff Barr one and a few other ones I was poking through. But I have no idea how you even got to interview Jeff Barr. I was like, wait, what? But I think it's pretty cool that you're interviewing like people doing all sorts of different things from all around the world. And that's like the whole thing, right? Like cloud computing is connecting literally like India to the rest of the world. And then we're just talking like we know each other or something. And we're from such different worlds and yet we're able to have these conversations. So I think that's really cool.
There are many engineers or many experts, architects, DevOps engineers, like all over the uh, technology field, not only from AWS, from Azure, Microsoft, from Google, Facebook. A lot of people, hundreds of people are gonna come to my show. They're already scheduled. Uh, you know, there are so many people. So, I did, like I said, I have done technology degrees, and now I'm doing DevOps engineering work. So, apart from this, I'm talking with experts from technology who already did work, and who
Hmm.
are not only technology people, there are non-technical people who are like doctors, doctors, authors, and film stars, and also people who worked in Marvel, and people who worked with Steve Jobs, also people who worked with Bill Gates. I interviewed them. So how this talking with experts like all these people from all over the world, how this experience is going to helpful for me in coming days?
Oh, I mean, I think it can only help because one of the really big issues I had when I was working in IT as someone who didn't come from a technical background is that I didn't even know what kind of jobs were available or what people can do with like certain technical like knowledge. So just the fact that you have like hundreds of people already that's like lived out so many different lives, you just get to like pick the best one and then run with it. And I feel like that's like what's better than that is you're like, hey, I like this the best. And then if you don't, you have like hundreds more in your back pocket to just run with. So I think this is only like beneficial to you in the upcoming, who knows, even next month.
And one last question that is very important. Your words. Uh, Me talking. I had conversations with more than 100 country people in the world. More than 100 countries people came to my show, and I had communicated with all different types of English talking people from Indonesia to South America, Europe, France, Australia, like everywhere in the world they are speaking in a different way and different styles, and having different using different vocabulary. Because you are a writer, you know how the words will impact in communication. So, what do you think that worked for me in order to make this happen? This hundreds of people communication. What do you think that quality that worked for me? That global connectivity.
I mean, you're not afraid, you're going to go for it, right? I feel like that's the one thing because a lot of people I know, especially Japanese people, are kind of nervous about talking to people in English or talking to people with like accents that they haven't heard of before. And I feel like everyone kind of has that like moment where they're trying to like be like, oh, this person has an accent I haven't heard, or this person has an accent that I'm not used to. And then I think a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't know if I want to like talk to them, but you clearly are like, let's go, any accent, let's go. So I feel like just the fact that you want to do this and you're doing this is just, I feel like that's like spectacular quality and also quality that a lot of people don't have. And that's clearly helping you with doing all these interviews. So
It means a lot to me because your communication style and your way of explanation reached thousands of people. You saying this, it means a lot to me.
yeah, I just talk to the screen, but you're talking to people. So I think like what you're doing is so much harder than what I'm doing because I just come up with a way to say something at the screen and then people will just have to receive it. It's not like I'm getting like feedback and we're not having communication, but like you're having communication. So that's like a different level of communication than what I'm doing with my students. So I think it's pretty cool.
I'll put your web links in the description of this video on YouTube. People who finds our video can see the work that you're doing, and definitely they can learn from you from India as well, where I'm living. there will be a lot of people who wants to learn AWS and don't know how to learn and where to start and how to start. Definitely your content is going to be a stepping stone for them, and you will be the reason for their development as well. Uh,
Yeah, I hope so.
so can you spell it, your presence to my podcast listeners?
You can find all of my AWS content at aws.hiroko.io. And that just has all of my AWS content, and Hiroko is just my first name. But if you just Google my name, HIROKO, and then NISHIM as in Mary, and then URA, then and any combination of like AWS or AWS Hero, and you'll hit me because I'm the only person with this kind of name doing AWS stuff. So
That's awesome. Can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
yeah, of course.
And also, can I put this audio and video clip on my podcast, website, internet, social media, everywhere with your permission?
Yeah, of course.
So keep explaining AWS services, and I'm sure a lot of people will get benefit because of your work.
Yeah, thank you. And keep on interviewing on, and you're going to have like the best job ever because you're going to figure out that best job. Kind of jealous.
But I can't reach like you because you have a unique style without being physically present. I'm being physically present and connecting, but without being physically present, you are connecting. That is writing is one of the hardest jobs that I feel in when it comes to communication skills. I was a writer. I started this internet thing with writing. Actually, I have blogs. I was preparing for PhD entrance after my masters. I wanted to do PhD in computer science, and at that time, like I was preparing for entrance exam, and I need to learn all the PhD entrance subjects, 48 subjects. In that, computer networks was the subject which drawn my attention. And when I was writing content regarding that on my website, like I connected with you when you was explaining in the beginning of this video, you was telling like general examples that you are relating with the technology concepts. I do the same. I did the same. But you and me don't have connection. You are living in different part of the world. I live in different part of the world. Experiences are different. But the same quality that I have, I used to create some nature related things like cloud, stars, and trees, like relating with the technology. Not only you, there is a person who came from pure technology background. It was a new way of explaining, and that connected with more people. Maybe I didn't got much negative response because I already have technical degrees. Technology.
That helps. Yeah.
They didn't say
They can't
anything.
say you don't know what you're talking about because you have that degree backing you up. So that's
Yeah.
like the most powerful combination is you can do that and have your diplomas backing you up.
And one last thing I want to say, when I started this video series talking with technology experts, actually this was not the style actually technology people will take interviews, like professional interviews, Microsoft, Amazon, like this is not usual way of taking interviews. And also if you see my title chatting with, it's not like that. Actually, if you go to YouTube, there will be like conversation with, or like very professional interviews. I've broken that style and I used your style, like trying to be natural, being in the natural way. I'm trying to put technology concepts or putting technology interviews, and it made people to relate easily. They
Yeah.
connected with me easily because it's not like non-technical people. Most of my followers are non-technical people, and technology people are like, this I never seen before. Like I'm trying to ask questions which are non-technical and combining, because I have huge technology knowledge. I'm combining like both. Even non-technical person don't feel like I don't know this. I'm relating with this,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Mm-hmm.
like enjoying the chattings that I have done. It's a new way of, and even I don't know. When I'm doing this, I invented this new style, and it worked.
Yeah.
That it worked for me, and it worked for you.
Yeah, I mean, yours is the most powerful combination. I don't have the engineering background over here propping me up, but yours is like you got both, so it'll probably
So,
work out really well.
so finally we connected. Thank you very much for your valuable time and sharing your work to my audience and answering some of my questions.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Take care.
Take care, you too. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.